This is the Crush Crowdfunding Podcast, the #1 place for people who want to launch on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. My name is Nalin, and I invite you to join me for tips, hacks, and insights to get you launched and fully funded. Hey everyone, welcome to another session of the Crush Crowdfunding Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here today and to really talk to you about crowdfunding and how you can absolutely crush your goal on Kickstarter and absolutely crush your goal on Indiegogo. Today, I wanted to talk about this message that I got last night. Okay, I'm looking at my phone and I got this message last night and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I wanted to read it to you and then I wanted to talk about it to just see where we can go from here. Anyway, so this person said, "Hi, Nalin, you're doing great work. For some of us, we have never been in, this industry. So it has become a challenge to know the differences of the procedures and processes to follow and go through, especially the steps we should go through. We don't know whether we should launch or market first. I'm thinking on behalf of many creators. I would really like to know how to handle or how to get through this challenge." Okay, so that was a message I got at 2 a.m. last night. Don't worry, I didn't wake up and just look at the message at 2 a.m. I saw it this morning when I woke up and I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, this person is reaching out because they need help, right? They need help. They're looking for something to figure out the steps. There's a lot of information. So if you go to Google, if you go to, if you use Bing, if you use DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, whatever you use, if you go and you look up how to launch on crowdfunding, how to launch on Kickstarter, how to launch on Indiegogo, you'll get a lot of information, hands down. You'll get probably tens of thousands of hits, tens of thousands of sites, hundreds of thousands of sites. There's so many people talking at this point, right? Kickstarter and Indiegogo have been around for more than 10 years now. So at this point, there's a lot of people talking about crowdfunding campaigns. You can find a lot of articles, you can find a lot of videos, on YouTube here. You can find a lot of stuff on podcasts. You can find a lot of things for just figuring out your launch. And what usually happens is you get information overload. You do. That's what I get too when I research my own entrepreneurial marketing stuff. For example, when I was trying to figure out okay, which platform is the best platform to host different courses, different online courses with video, without video. There's all these different options. When I just typed in best course hosting platform, hundreds pop up. So many. There's ClickFunnels, there's Kajabi, there's Teachable, there's so many other ones out there, and there's new ones popping up every so often too. It never ends, right? Because there's always new things to improve on. There's always new opportunities to really niche down, and there's always opportunity to create something that is a better iteration of the thing before. And so that's why you keep seeing all these new things popping up. Or when I was trying to decide okay, which email marketing platform should I use? Right now in Crush Crowdfunding, I use Drip. And that was because 3 years ago, right? Okay, 3 years ago, I literally was okay, I have tried a lot of email marketing platforms. Let's figure out which one people prefer for not too expensive price. And so I read through hundreds of articles. It took me about a week to decide which email marketing platform to use, which I don't recommend you do. Take a week to research this. It's kind of silly for me to do in hindsight. Hindsight is 2020. And again, this was 3 or 4 years ago that I did this. But anyway, the point of the matter is there's a lot of information out there. So I can see why this person is confused. I can see why this person's okay, there's all this information. What do I do? Where do I get started? And the best thing to do in this case, if you are just trying to figure out okay, who do I listen to? What do I do to get started? There's just so much to go on. I would just recommend just to figure out first who you want to follow. Yeah. Just figure out who you want to follow, because there's so many people out there. So many people, so many consultants, so many agencies, so many freelancers, There's so many people out there. Just read and like listen and watch some of their stuff and see who you kind of want to follow, who you kind of gel with, who you kind of like, who you kind of like want to listen to, and just decide on like one, maybe two people to follow, because at the end of the day, we all talk about the same thing. At the end of the day, we all teach the same things. At the end of the day, we all really like encourage you to go through very similar processes in order to get you to launch. It's just the fact that who do you want to kind of like hear in your mind every day when you're trying to figure out, okay, what is my next step? What would Nalin do? What would X person do? What would Y person do? Right? Like, who is that person you want to be kind of hearing in the back of your head as you're trying to figure out the next step, firstly, right? Just narrow that down, because there's so many people out there. Like, even me, myself, I'm finding like, when I look at, entrepreneurship, when I look at how to kind of build systems, when I look at how to like automate processes, when I look at how to optimize and become more efficient in my own business, there's so many people I can follow. There's so many people. When I look at like, okay, how do I create a system, an automated system for my own business? I like Google that, right? I go to Google and I look at that. I go to Instagram and I start typing some like key hashtags that some of these people might be using. And there's like so many people to follow. And then you get into this kind of habit. You get into the cycle of trying to follow and trying to learn and trying to follow and trying to follow. And then you have all this information just like packed in front of you. Like, I remember there was a time where I was saving all these different articles, and I would be like, oh, I should read this, save. I should read this article from this other person, save. I should read this other article from this other person, save. I should watch this YouTube video, save. And it got to a point where I was just overwhelmed because there was so much to read and learn and just do, right? So much to read and learn and do. Well, I ended up with just like eliminating all that, eliminating it all and just figuring out, who do I resonate with? At the end of the day, guys, everyone is able to up level, and everyone is able to take you to the next level, and everyone is able to get you to success if you just listen, really listen to what they're saying, really, really listen to what they're telling you to do and actually doing it, right? So I came to the point of realization, and I was like, okay, I got to eliminate. There's too much information around me. There's too much, essentially at this point, it was noise, right? There was noise. I was just like, okay, do I follow this person, that person, this person, that person? Like, okay, what do I do now? Because everyone's also always talking about something just a little different. And so you have to understand their lingo and the way they talk and how they like put things together, put ideas together. And so what I did was I just like eliminated. I just like parsed down. And so now I follow very few people, specifically very few people, for various like different things. And if I need like a little boost for in terms of like marketing and like business intuition, I know exactly which mentor, which like online digital mentor to go to, which website, which Instagram handle, which one to go to like get that like 30 minutes of kind of direction again in terms of that. If I need tactics, right? If I need tactical implementation of like, okay, how do I outsource and automate this particular part of the process? I know exactly who to go to, because I know that their voice is the one that shines the loudest for this particular thing. And so I follow them. So like, there's only a few people that I now follow for all these different parts of the business. And everyone else is kind of just removed. And so that has sped things up a lot, right? I don't have to like freak out and try to like go to the internet and just like Google all these things anymore. I just know that if I just go back to these tried and true people who I've been following for a while now and just like look at things through their lens, you can kind of see what the next step should be and also kind of hear what the next step should be for your own like issue, problem, obstacle. So with that said, when it comes to, if you have the same problem as this person who I was reading the message from earlier, if you don't know where to get started, if you're just like inundated with information, there's just so much going on around you, simplify, right? Who are the people you want to follow. Like it can be 1, 2, maybe even 3 people, and just read their stuff and listen to their stuff. Because again, at the end of the day, we all teach the same things. It's just, how do you understand it, right? How do you implement it? And the more you read, the more you watch, the more you like listen to like podcasts and things like that, doesn't mean the more that you can be successful. That doesn't mean that at all, right? Like the more you learn isn't the more successful you get. So like people who get PhDs doesn't mean that they're quote unquote successful in, that sense, right? Like there's so many different ways to like define success. So with that said, once you've simplified, make sure you start actually going through all their material. I'm sure whoever you want to follow, I'm sure whoever you decide to listen to at the end of the day has something that's like a lead magnet. And the lead magnet, if you don't know, is kind of the marketing term for calling something free that they'll give you in exchange for you giving them your email, right? It's just like here, take some information. I'd love to have your email so that I can continue giving you information. It's a win-win. You get information and they get to grow their email list. Yeah. Not only that, but once you give your email, they'll continue like sending you different bits and like strategies and tactics and like all this stuff too. So with that said, once you've narrowed everything down, make sure to get their lead magnet, because that will like most likely tell you the really basic steps, like in like bite-sized nugget-sized like steps. Like what are the grand big picture things that you have to do, right? Grand big picture things. So like for crowdfunding, like define your goal. That's one of the grand big picture things, right? It sounds easy, but define your goal is hard. It's hard because you have to figure out manufacturing. It's hard because you have to figure out how much everything actually costs and how much you actually have to raise and how much you can actually like market for. And like define your goal is like one of those big picture things. Like find your audience is also one of those big picture things that every single person you follow in the crowdfunding space will take you through. Right. So there's all these like really big picture things. So make sure to get their lead magnet. Make sure to give them your email so that you can get this lead magnet that'll give you that 10,000 foot view, 5,000 foot view, 50,000 foot view. I don't know what the saying is, but that big picture of what you need to do. Okay. And from there, fill in the gaps. That's it. It's fill in the gaps. Okay. So what that means is in these steps, and one of the steps that I talk about, we talk about asset creation as one of them, because crowdfunding is online. Crowdfunding is like through a digital mobile device / laptop / desktop, right? Crowdfunding is online. So what you need are just assets, because people can't feel and touch the product unless they're like right there next to you. They can't feel or touch the product unless you're like sending out beta samples to everyone on your email list, which can't happen typically, right? Or else you're just producing. So if that's the case, like assets, right? I talk about assets is one of the big things we got to do before going to a crowdfunding campaign. So now with this like 5,000 foot view, fill in the blanks. What assets do you need, right? You need product images. For sure, you need product images. You need product images from different angles. You need product images on white background. You need product images plus the app if you have an app. So there's all these different things that you need for this product image. You need lifestyle images. What kind of lifestyle images do you need? Like go check out other campaigns and other products within your same category and see what types of lifestyle images they have. What types of representation do they have? What types of where are they actually using these products? Like who is actually using it? What age? What gender? Like where are people making use of this? How are they feeling while using this? So like lifestyle images. You need a video, right? Like how do you create a video? How do you like script? How do you storyboard? How do you decide how long your video should be? Who should you actually work with for video? There's all these different questions for you to really, really like dive in and really fill in the gaps. Like a crowdfunding consultant, blogger, YouTuber, podcaster, whatever, right? All these people will tell you all these bits and pieces. Like these people, like myself, will give you the 10,000 foot view. right? And then we will also give you the nitty-gritty details. But we're not going to give you the nitty-gritty details like on a silver platter, right? We can't do that. We can't just customize everything for you, because everyone learns in a different way. Everyone learns at a different speed. Everyone has different questions, things like that. So make sure you're able to parse down this information and fill in those gaps for yourself, for your own product, for your own content, for your own launch. This also means it's not going to be easy. Some people think that, once they learn all this, crowdfunding will be easy, right? Like, oh, I know the steps. I have to find a goal. I have to find an audience. I have to create assets. I have to create a converting page. I have to build up my lead generation list. So all of this, I have to conduct a pre-launch, make sure that people are ready and hyped for my first day. So there's all of these questions that people are like, okay, I got it. It's going to be super easy to do this. And in my head, I'm like, okay, theory, what's implementation like? And that's where a lot of people fall off the wayside, right? To go back to this person that messaged me, they don't even know where to get started. So that's where you get started. And then here's this next, I guess, big hump, big obstacle that people just trip and fall. And this big obstacle is what to do, literally what to actually do, actually implementing it, right? Actually doing the thing. And that's where a lot of people fall to the wayside, because they, one, get scared that they can't do it. They get scared that they aren't enough. They get scared that they need more information. They get scared that they need more help. They get scared that they don't know what to do. They get scared and they get unsure. It happens to me too. It happens to the best of us, but just know that if you try and you fail, that's okay. Because if you try and you fail, you now know so much more than someone else who has not tried and has not even had the chance to fail, right? From there, take your learnings, figure out how to relaunch, how to do it again. If you really believe in it, do it again. Keep doing it until you can do it. Guys, I wasn't an entrepreneur right off the bat, right? I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I failed so many times before I could get to where I am now, right? Let's talk about being let go from a job, right? That was the thing that was oh, okay, wake up call. And then I was okay, let me try this whole online digital entrepreneur thing. So I was doing things building Shopify stores, right? I was building Shopify stores and selling t-shirts, right? I was doing things trying to make my dog an influencer and selling products through that and getting affiliate links through that. I was trying so many things and it just wasn't working. I was trying print on demand things, right? There's so many things I tried and it didn't work for me and I failed. But what it helped was I learned to build literal stores you could sell stuff on. I learned how to sync up drop shipping services with different platforms. I learned how to source artists for print on demand and how to sync up all print on demand things. I learned how to set up an influencer-ish account. I learned kind of the strategies and tactic to build up a social following from that. So there's so many things you can learn only if you just start trying, right? Just start going ahead and doing it. If you fail, that's okay. You have so many more learnings that no other person has. And so if you're scared to do, right, if that's the one thing that is not letting you move forward, don't be, because it's okay to just fail. It's okay to do it wrong a little bit. It's okay to do it wrong and learn. It's totally okay to do that. So don't be scared. Just keep going. All right. So many failures on my end and it's okay to fail. Easy as that. Some people don't implement because they still believe they don't have enough information. And to this, I say, I get it too. I get it because, I've been the same way. I've been so scared to implement so many things because I didn't believe that I had the right information. So for example, a virtual summit. I thought about doing a virtual summit at the end of last year. And then I was oh, I don't have enough information. Oh, I don't have enough knowledge. Oh, I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. And then at the beginning of this year, a crowdfunding agency just did it, right? One crowdfunding agency did it. And then in the middle of this year, or towards the end of this year, another crowdfunding agency did it. And I was well, it doesn't seem too hard, right? You just go in, you interview some people, and then you kind of put them on the screen on the day the video is supposed to drop. Like, I was on the other side of a summit too, a virtual summit, and I was like, that can't be too hard. You just literally just like kind of have conversations with someone, and then you send it out live, right? Like, and so like hindsight 2020, it's not too hard. It's really not too hard at all. And so with that said, you have enough information. Trust me. I'm sure this is not your first podcast. I'm sure this is not your first like blog, right? If you're here right now, I'm sure this is not your first one. There's a point where it's okay to start implementing, because you probably know exactly what to do. You probably know, like, hey, I got to build an audience. Hey, I got to, do a media kit and like write to some press. Hey, I got to like do all these things. There's like step-by-step guides out there, right? And just know that you can do it. Just to go back to the beginning again, this person messaged me, was like, what do I do? How do I get started? Just simplify who you follow, who you read, who you listen to. Get their lead magnet to get the big picture view. Fill in the gaps, right? Fill in those gaps in that big picture view and implement. Don't stop. Just keep doing. Because if you keep doing, you keep learning. And if you keep learning, you can keep pivoting, changing, updating what you do according to what works, and just removing what doesn't work. So if you have questions, please feel free to let me know. If you want to be on the list just to get the information I'm talking about here and get like weekly just tips, tactics, and advice, strategies from me, then just feel free to go to crushcrowdfunding.com/subscribe. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Crush Crowdfunding podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful in any way, be sure to leave a review so that other people will have an easier time finding this crowdfunding content. I hope that this podcast was helpful in your crowdfunding journey, and I can't wait for you to go out and crush it. Thanks for listening to the Crush Crowdfunding podcast at crushcrowdfunding.com. Tune in the same time next week for more ways to crush your launch.